they're little things that are growing, and it's our job to nurture and to support and to help them grow and help them to develop.
Hi, it's Beck here. Thanks for joining us for another episode of 98.5's Table Talk, where we give short answers to tall topics. And with me today is Natalie Nicholls from PLECS Learning, who offers a unique whole child approach for learning and development. Natalie is a cognition and learning specialist with expertise in the area of learning difficulties and behavioural challenges. Welcome, Natalie.
Thanks for having me, Beck.
Now, what are you bringing to the table today?
Well, today, Beck, I would like to talk about how you can support your child with learning and behavioural challenges.
Oh, it's such a good topic because I think, especially these days, we have so much more knowledge and information around how our children can learn and how, we can help support them better. Why is it so important to understand where learning and behavioural difficulties come from?
Yeah, so one of the very first important parts is the understanding. And once we understand kids, we're able to empathise a lot more with them. We can meet the child where they're at, and we can then provide the best support and the best pathway for them. Mm-hmm. And empathising can be quite a challenging thing for us, particularly as adults when we have expectations for our kids too. Mm-hmm. But understanding that a child's brain is still developing, that the signals of their behaviour or their learning are actually trying to tell us something.
Sure.
And so once we start to put ourselves in our kids' shoes, we can then understand those signals, and therefore we're able to be in a better position to be able to think, well, what kind of learning and support does my child need from here?
At what stage are we going to be thinking about that? Is it like from birth or more when it's approaching school age? At what point are you going, all right, what's going to best suit my child now?
Yeah. That can be a tricky question to answer, but I suppose most parents that I've come encountered with have an inkling, particularly when they have at least more than one child, that there's something else with their child.
Yes,
right?
Definitely.
And usually that inkling has been since when they were quite little.
Yeah.
And commonly parents will think they'll just grow out of it, or something else will come along the way.
Sure.
And then usually it's when they start school. Or even commonly around age 8, when learning and acquisition of being able to read and write is usually a foundation that's quite solid almost by then, year 3, 4, that then we start to realise something else might be going on here.
Yeah.
And so looking out for those signals about what a child might be telling us. So even in those early years, or even at any point, kids might be putting their hands over their ears.
Yep.
They might be hiding under desks. They might be running away from something. They might be having a lot of emotional meltdowns. And so thinking about what are those signals telling me? How can I understand where my child is at? Now, I know that sounds almost easier said than done.
Yeah.
One of the hardest things is then knowing what to do.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as a parent, it's like, well, where do you start?
Yes.
Like, especially you want early intervention if you think something's going on. So where do we start if we think, I think my child might be a little bit different?
Yeah. So when we're not really sure about what's happening, one of the first thing is obviously empathise, understand what's happening with our child, have a chat with the classroom teacher, even go to the doctors and see if there's anything else that potentially may be underlying. And then obviously following from there, if people wanted to obviously hop onto my website, or we have a Facebook group, which is very supportive for families and parents too. That's another option for families out there. I also encourage parents to not dismiss those signals, because what can happen is the choices that we make can determine what kind of pathway our child can be led on.
Sure.
So, so just understanding that, they have the power to be able to make that impact and that support to help their child.
Now, is there always a reason behind learning and behavioural difficulties?
Yes. So I love this question because all learning and all behaviour that we see is an outcome of something that's going on inside of us.
Sure.
So if we are showing, or if a child is showing, as I was saying before, emotional meltdowns, usually it's a sign of overwhelm.
Yep.
There's just too much going on with the child that they just can't handle it anymore. If our kids are really happy, they're showing that that's a type of behaviour, that's something else, they're really enjoying something that's going on. If a child, I'll give you an example of, which is quite common, I have some parents say to me that their child might be acting inappropriately in a social setting.
Sure.
So,
How inappropriate? We're talking about like outbursts or...
I'm talking about, so say we've got, you might be hanging out with a group of friends, it might be a family function or something, and for some reason your child might be just acting a little bit silly.
Yes.
Okay. Now, there are a few different viewpoints. This is where we could understand what's going on with a child. First of all, we might be thinking, oh, they're just being really naughty. And therefore you're feeling a bit embarrassed and not really sure what to do, right? We could also be thinking, are they just trying to get attention? You know, maybe they're not the centre of attention. They just really love being the centre of attention. That particularly could be an issue. Or we could be thinking, is it that some kids actually find being in a social situation quite sensory overwhelming?
Yeah. So then that leads them to act out?
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So some kids will retreat and not want to go near them, and some kids will just act out.
That seems like it's the opposite that you think that they would want to do if they're overwhelmed.
Yes, exactly. And it depends on our sensory system, on how, and also part of our personality, on how we would react.
Yeah.
So some children who are more, I suppose, out there would react in more of a hyperactive, I suppose, manner.
Yeah.
Others potentially may then retreat. And so neither of them are wrong or incorrect. It's just understanding, okay, well, maybe my child is actually finding that situation a little bit difficult. Instead of kind of pushing them or correcting the behaviour, how can we connect with our child to think how I can support them with those symptoms that they're showing?
Say your child is doing that, like acting out because they're overwhelmed. What's a good way then to deal with them?
Yeah. So recognising they're finding it quite overwhelming, you can pull them aside and have a little chat with them. They may need a little bit of a cuddle privately. They may need some comfort. Some kids also need some words to be able to understand. So by providing them with words on how they're feeling is quite beneficial because it shows that connection with them again. So you could sit down and say, look, you know, how are you finding it playing with your friends outside? Or, you know, are you happy out there? Do you find it a little bit overwhelming? Or, you know, just having a little chat with them about how they might be feeling. And you might find they might dismiss it, or you might find that they might actually, oh yeah, it is a little bit too much. Well, what options have we got? You know, you could stay with mummy for a little bit or with daddy. We could go for a little bit of a walk around the house and do something else. And then you let me know when you feel that you're ready to go back out. Maybe they want to play with one or two kids instead of a big bunch of children. So there's always those options. And the best thing is obviously thinking about how they're feeling and how we can support them. The same way goes when we approach a social situation and we've got the kid hanging off our legs.
Oh, that's me.
Hiding behind mum and dad, you know. So... and one of the worst things that we can do, which is quite common, is just rip
go
them
on,
off
off you
and
go.
go.
It is hard as like a parent to be
Of
like,
course.
when you're in like a social situation with your friends as well.
Yes.
And be like, I need to support my child.
Yes.
But I also want to
Socialise.
socialise, like finding that happy
Exactly.
balance.
That's right. And we can also feel terrible because our kid's hanging on our leg and they're not
Yeah.
going off and playing like all the other kids are
Exactly.
doing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so quite a few families that I've worked with have had this challenge where we take the child, we pull them aside and we talk to them about their feelings.
Yeah.
And we connect again. You know, are you feeling overwhelmed? Because there's lots of people, and that's normal to feel really overwhelmed because there's lots of people around. You let me know when you're feeling okay.
Yeah.
And eventually you'll find that is a more effective method
Yeah.
than
Pushing
popping
them
them
off.
off because
Yeah.
they usually want to try to come back.
Yeah. So if you give them the time and the space,
And then
they'll go off their own.
exactly that understanding for them. Yeah.
Now let's get down to the DNA, because what we want to know what has the biggest impact for this. Is it DNA or is it then environmental? What's impacting them more?
Yeah. So studies show that the way that we are as human beings is a combination of our genes and the environment. So if we're having a look at it, different studies will show different percentages, but it's approximately 50-50.
Oh, wow.
But more commonly, the environment has quite a significant impact.
Yeah.
So we can have a gene predisposition for something.
Sure.
So maybe, for anxiety, for example. But the environment that's provided can either exacerbate or support that level.
Yeah. What about if it comes to things like ADHD? Would that be more then leaning towards a DNA more so than environmental?
Yeah, so ADHD is a difficult one because ADHD is commonly most learning difficulties are as well, but it's commonly a list of symptoms pretty much that a child is showing.
Yeah.
And so there's no such gene as such to say this is an ADHD gene.
Yes.
So the weaknesses in the area of the brain or the immaturity of certain areas of the brain show certain symptoms to lead to a diagnosis of ADHD, whether it's inattentive or impulsivity or a combination. So when we're looking at the environment and the support we can put in place for that child that are matching those symptoms the child is showing, and what areas, particularly the brain, may be weak that are then causing those symptoms, then we can provide a fantastic environment and development for that child. And I've seen some amazing results with children, for example, coming to my centre and we have them bouncing off the walls or kids who are, we're trying to do an assessment, I have to do it while they're running around, those kind of things. And then by the end of our program, these kids are sitting down for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So
it's like putting practices in place to help where the child's at, like any other issue.
Exactly, that's right. It's just having a look at, well, what else is going on with this child and how can we support them through that.
Oh, I would love to come in and watch you do your job. It would be amazing. So parents who are watching and saying, my child definitely fits into some of the learning and behavioural difficulties we've been having a chat about, what can they do? Yeah.
So first thing, if you'd like some help, I do have a Facebook group just for parents.
Yep.
You need to obviously put in your little invite or a request to come into the group and I'll have a look at the criteria. So if you go to the website first, go to plexlearning.com.au, it actually has a link on there for you to put a request in for the Facebook group.
Excellent.
You can also like the Facebook page, PLECS Learning, and just you can also just email anything. I've got the website, the email address on the website if anyone wants to have any more information about what I do. But yeah, that's pretty much the best way to get in contact. But otherwise, summing up the three things that for today are that just to have a look at your kids' signals.
Yeah.
And thinking it from a nurturing perspective that this child is a little brain. They're not an adult that's just in the little body.
Yeah.
We are they're little things that are growing and it's our job to nurture and to support and to help them grow and help them to develop. Being able to connect with them as much as we can.
It's been brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us as well. I've been chatting with Natalie Nicholls from PLECS Learning and Development for Kids. And thank you for joining us on Table Talk. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. Check out more Table Talk episodes on our website, 985.com. We'll see you next time.